Hi, I'm going to be discussing building motivation, staying consistent once you get started. We're going to talk a little bit about depression and burnout. We're also going to get a little bit into letting yourself feel through the cycles of depression and where to start building motivation if you don't really feel motivated. So I'm already out on the walk today, so where to get started? Okay, well, I recently heard that motivation doesn't get you started. Getting started builds you motivation. So even when you don't feel like you can do it, or feel a desire to do it, or feel the urge to try, you can kind of do this thing where you just make yourself start. As simple as that. And once you start, you'll start to build the motivation to actually do the things. So what I'll say is you have to figure out where to start. You kind of need to figure out what you actually value and why you actually value it. And find your North Star. Like, if you have a damn good reason to be motivated, you're a lot more likely to sit down and actually do the thing and be consistent at it. And on the hard days especially, get up and say, oh, I don't feel like doing this today. And that happens. But if your reason for doing the thing is actually damn good, chances are even when you're feeling down and out like that, you'll get up and you'll actually get it done. So simply put, allow yourself to actually get things done. To do that, you're gonna need to know where to start, and where you start is with your values. Once you actually figure out your values, you just kind of attempt whatever you want to get done. And by doing that, you'll build motivation and confidence over time. Part of the reason you may not start is because you're fearful of your inability to actually get the task done. You may not feel confident in your ability to succeed, and in your mind, the thing you're starting might be really important. So if that's happening, by making yourself start even though you don't feel secure in your ability to do it, you'll kind of see that the task maybe isn't as menacing as you thought it was, or perhaps that you're more capable than you initially thought, or maybe your ability to do this thing is better off than you thought you were going to be when you figured you'd start. So by just making yourself get started, you kind of knock through a whole lot of barriers. You can sit and do a lot of research on the topic and think yourself into oblivion and tell yourself, all right, I know a bit more about it today. I'll get started tomorrow or in this coming week or whatever else. Instead, if you actually want to make some progress, you're going to need to just sit and be like, okay, we're doing it. We're doing it now. We're starting it up. And by starting it up, well, you'll see progress as it happens. Try and train your mind a bit to look for the small wins in things. Like, you don't have to hit your big milestones to celebrate a little bit. You can be all like, oh, I may have done that wrong again today, but I did it way better than I did the last time. And I should celebrate that, and that will help me mentally get in the habit of trying hard things. So, break down what's actually important to you and take it and... Sorry guys, the wind is just a little heavy today. Alright, I'm restarting that thought. So, take the thing you actually value getting done, write it down, write a couple things down, make it a priority, and then at the end of each day, ask yourself, did I make progress towards this? Not, did I do it, did I get it done? Ask, did I make progress towards this? And even if it's really small progress, it'll help you build towards actually starting and doing it. Now, let's talk a bit about burnout and depression kind of as a tandem thing. Depression is a pretty serious medical condition that I'm going to say if you have this, seek medical help. Medication could do wonders, a therapist could do wonders. There's a percentile chance you're not depressed and you're actually just sad about your situation. It's kind of a chicken and an egg situation. Which came first? I don't know. They seem to make each other. So, if you're depressed, seek some professional help. And because chances are you being unmotivated, you not getting things done, if you have chronic depression, isn't your fault. Just isn't. It can be a very crippling condition. So I feel like I normally get caught up more in burnout and decision paralysis and confidence issues than I get depressed. So I'm probably not the best person to talk on this, but I did want to talk on it a little. Part of beating depression, though, will be reframing your thoughts, trying to just force some more positive thoughts in there and really shake it up a little bit. That's about the best thing I have to say. Now for my burnout buddies. We sure did make ourselves do that terrible thing for a really long time, didn't we? And wear that like a badge of honor. Because of that, we're all burnt out and don't actually take steps to make our situation better. By saying we're throwing ourselves at the fire, we kind of let ourselves get out of doing scary tasks that might actually make the situation better. Kind of getting caught up in trying to prevent change more than trying to focus on getting the change you actually want. Which leads you to get more burnt out, because every day you put all this effort forward and you see the same results. Go figure, if you're subconsciously trying to prevent change, you're gonna, to some capacity, prevent and hinder change. Just, you can't actually halt change entirely. So by doing this, you opt out of the chance to control and choose what kind of change happens in your future and pass that over to luck. And I don't know about you, but I don't like to try my luck. I'm not the luckiest guy. So what I'm saying is, with burnout, you kind of need to reframe your thoughts a bit. Like a lot. Like, you need to get less afraid of change and embracing of the unknowing, probably. Because chances are, if you're burnt out, you don't like your situation, but you don't fear it or hate it quite as much as you may dislike the unknown. So, try to break that habit. And chances are, like me, you might also do this thing where instead of letting yourself celebrate the little wins, you sit there and you're like, I know I'm supposed to celebrate as a step to help me build motivation, but I really just feel this isn't enough. And maybe this feeling of not being enough can be my motivation to keep going. That's not good. That will lead you back to burnout, even if you did manage to reset and get a break. So there isn't a benefit there. And you do need to learn, probably still, even if you have mastered the art of starting, how to celebrate when you actually get something done. So, both these conditions can be real rough. I recommend professional help for either of them. And like, I'm sorry if these conditions have really hindered you in your life. Like, there's some bite you in the ass ways of living to a degree, and like, a lot of people with those conditions just are seen as lazy. So if you go through those conditions and feel behind in life, like, I'm just actually telling you, cut yourself some slack. And alright, we're gonna move on from burnout and depression, before that kind of gets a little sad. And kind of touch more on, because I guess I had more points I wanted to add to it. Finding your North Star, finding your actual why, and what you can gain out of that. Okay, so this can be hard in the modern world. There's a whole lot of things that just are almost like mandatory on a regular basis that we could be bothered to care less about as people. But it needs done. It's the maintenance of the modern world. Well, sorry about that. I bumped the power button for my camera. Alright, so I was talking about the maintenance of the modern world and how it can be a slog, even if you found your North Star, even if you found your reason for doing it, all these menial things that are kind of required for you to do. Well, we just don't want to do them. The hiring paperwork, the taxes at the end of the year, the texting that family member back that we know we should even when we just don't want to. Things like that. And well, how do you hold motivation if your motivation is this like cause for yourself in situations that really are just for the modern world? Remind yourself that everything kind of builds up together. If you don't do this stuff right, then you're not going to get to do the fun part, the exciting part. Everything has balances, everything has pros and cons. You're not supposed to enjoy everything that you do. I don't think that's true. I think you should enjoy an amount of each day. Hopefully you do. And if you don't, hunt and search for something you do. Because until you find something you enjoy, I'd wager finding any motivation at all to do much of anything will be a challenge. Giving yourself an opportunity to play and just enjoy life can be a very essential part of this. Like I was saying, if you're burnt out, just giving yourself a chance to relax, if you can be very useful. And if you're not having that issue, then good. But still try and make some opportunity for you to just enjoy yourself, because you deserve that. And so next we're going to touch on consistency. So let's say you figured out what actually matters to you and what you value. You took that and you got started with it. And you confronted some of your frame of minds and mental stigmas that might be keeping you from getting harder or certain tasks in your life done. Okay, so now we're 3 months into doing that, and each day the results have slowed down a little bit more. We're sitting there and we're like, okay, I'm ready for another big breakthrough, another moment of actual progress. And it seems the time kind of like stretches out, where things slow down, and eventually you're sitting there and it comes to kind of a crawl sometimes. Just like you feel like you're seeing no progress, even if you know there is some. And even if the progress is just holding some lines in your life really well, that counts for something. That's a win. So, sorry. Had to clear my throat. Air is pretty crispy out here today. And, well, consistency is, it's the tricky part. You're gonna slip up a lot, probably. You're probably gonna think about it and be all like, and you're gonna get into the rut, and then you're gonna let the rut spiral. You'll be like, well, I've already slipped up. I might as well cut myself another break. And, so then you're back kind of in some old habits, and that you beat yourself up over it. How do we prevent this? Well, simply by accepting you can't be consistent every day. Some days life is just gonna shake you and knock you down, and on those days, the quest isn't make big progress. The quest is stand back up by the end of the day. If we succeed at that task, then by all means, quest completed. Day is a success. We're the hero of our story that day. If you have an extra rough day, if external situations put you for a loop, if you fall into an old thought pattern and it gets you in some trouble, that's all right. Just reframe it in your mind. The quest today isn't get big progress on my goals. The quest today is stand up in time for tomorrow so I can try and get big progress on my goals tomorrow. Be flexible in this. Accept that some days we're just not going to have the day we really want to. Some days we're going to have a day we really don't want to. And some days you need that. Some days a disruption is the best part of the day. So try not to let it. That's the real thing. When you don't get there, try not to beat yourself up over it. If you start beating yourself up over it, it'll let you kind of slip into older ways of thinking, and that is how you lose your consistency streak. That is how you keep yourself from building a consistency streak. Another issue you can have is when you come to what they call the plateau, where you've made a bunch of big progress quickly and now you're seeing slower returns on your efforts. You can kind of look out at time, like say however long it takes you to actually get this goal. Let's say it's a year. So you hit the plateau and now you're like, oh, I do this every day now. Okay. Well, working through the plateau is also kind of a tricky part, because that can get a daunting. It's like, I signed up for this. I signed up for this workload every day. Well, try to reframe your mind back in on the moment at hand. Yeah, it's daunting to think about almost anything a year away. We really can't predict what's going to happen in a year for the most part. A whole lot of events happen in the span of a year. So you can't plan for every single day. You can't think about things in time periods that, like you should at times. When you're making your actual overarching plans, when you're setting your goals themselves, you should be thinking about a year, 5 years ahead, next week, all of that. But if you get caught up in thinking like that regularly instead of focusing in on each and every day, yeah, you're not going to be consistent. So find the now. Find the now in the moment. Get focused in on your own mind, and that will give you the ability to be more consistent and treat each day like a compartmentalized task to get done, not like these giant monstrous goals that we're supposed to conquer overnight. Compartmentalizing your time is critical. You need to give yourself like time periods to get things done. This will help you balance having fun, relaxing, and getting productive things done. If you break things down into time periods, you'll get a lot more done than if you just try to power through each and everything you need to do. That isn't a smart use of your time, and you should probably be trying to work a little smarter, not harder, especially if you want to tackle bigger and harder goals. So, by all means, good luck on your 2025 goals yet again. Stay motivated, get gritty, stay strong, have a lovely day, and I'll catch you in the next video.